All right, I know I'm late getting to this whole situation, but listen, I made it eventually, all right? For those of you who don't know, there is a TF2 website that has been made for selling your TF2 items for other TF2 items, or you can list your items for real world money. Literally one of the only super safe ways of cashing your items out nowadays. Or at least it was up until recently. MannCo Store, for those of you unaware, is one of the biggest TF2 trading sites out there. And on the 21st of January, the site suffered a massive security breach. And according to multiple sources, over $200,000 worth of items have been stolen from the website's bot inventories. That's a lot of TF2 items. Now, there hasn't been a whole lot of information come out about this entire thing. The MannCo socials have been pretty silent. The Steam group doesn't seem to have any answers. And a whole bunch of people essentially are trying to figure out what is going wrong. But regardless of whether or not we know what's happened, what we do know is that this is a big deal. Like, a really, really big deal. Now, this isn't just a website where you can trade your items for other items, where the MannCo bots have their inventory worth of items that they've bought and, you know, they're trying to get rid of for other stuff. This is a website where you can trade your items over and have your item listed on the site so people can spend real money on it. So what this means is that a good chunk of the $200,000 worth of items that have been stolen are actually items that the community have traded in to try and sell. So they're not technically items MannCo Store owns, more like items MannCo Store was brokering for other people. Which, for anybody who has been trying to sell items on this website, that really sucks, because imagine one day you're just waiting for your items to sell on literally the only really safe way of selling your items for real money, and the next, all of your items have been stolen, and now you're kind of left with nothing. Not a great time. Now, since it's not impossible to find out where items go after they've been traded, it looks like there's 3 accounts that have been discovered that are most likely owned by the MannCo Store Hijacker. You can see that these accounts are all ranked super high now on the leaderboards for most expensive inventories. The highest valued account with the most amount of items that have been stolen in is literally ranked within the top 50 of all inventories in the entire game. These 3 inventories are now full of unusuals, expensive TF2 items, but also not just high-value TF2 stuff. There's a bunch of CS2 items that have been stolen as well. There's a large amount of knives that have been stolen, some high-valued skins, and just all sorts that you'll find in this account now. Now, it turns out these accounts were all public for a while after the hijacking happened, which doesn't sound like the smartest move, meaning that backpack.tf could actually track where all of the items went, which is how people found these Steam accounts. Normally, if you trade stuff into like a private backpack, it's a lot more difficult to figure out where the item's gone, which is why things like the Bonzo, the All-Knowing Hong Kong cone show up as 0 people own it, because it's probably in a private backpack somewhere and nobody knows where it is. And all 3 of those accounts have now been trade banned, which hopefully means that most of the items that are in the accounts are now kind of stuck in there and aren't being siphoned off to a bunch of other smaller burner accounts. Which I guess is a positive, knowing that all of the items are in these accounts rather than in a bunch of different people's by now. And obviously now the profiles are private, so we won't actually know if the items are still in there or not. But they were trade banned fairly quickly after the hijacking happened, so hopefully for the sake of anybody who had the items listed on the site, they're still there. Obviously, knowing where the items are is a good thing, and if none of the other items have been moved around after reaching this account, Valve could potentially make a special exception to their normal support rules, where they don't really reimburse people or they don't reverse trades or anything like that. But if every item stolen went to 3 accounts and have stayed there, and it's quite obvious that the hijacker is the one that's traded them all to those accounts, then I'll be honest, I don't really think Valve will have much problem reversing those trades and taking it off the person who stole them. But I guess time will tell whether or not they do step in to rectify the situation, or they do just the typical Valve thing of pretending they don't see anything wrong and continuing on like normal. For everybody's sake of everybody involved, I really do hope Valve step in and actually do something this time, you know? So for right now, it looks like MannCo Store is actually down. Like, you just can't access the site, which is probably the right call while they're trying to figure out what in their security went wrong to allow for something like this to happen in the first place. And then also to make sure that something like this doesn't ever happen again. I can imagine for anybody who has their items listed on the site, this is probably pretty majorly anxiety inducing, because you might not know if your items specifically have been stolen, What if your item's sitting in a bot that wasn't targeted? You just kind of won't know until the site's back up and you see your item there. And it looks like for now, you might not be able to get your items off the site and back into your inventory just to try and keep it safe. Now, this really sucks as well, because this isn't the first major site that has been hacked recently. Backpack.tf was also a victim of a big security breach recently that deleted all item history that ever existed before a certain point. And I do have a video coming out about that fairly soon. But having two huge pillars of the TF2 trading community being attacked like this, so close together as well, is kind of insane. And I really do feel for the guys who own MannCo Store now, because obviously they are a website that, for the most part, relies a lot on people's trust of the website. And as far as I can say, from kind of an outsider of the trading community at this point, I feel like they've always had a pretty good reputation. I don't think they've done anything necessarily terrible to ruin that. Like, they are a trusted website. So having this happen to the website is a pretty huge deal for them, because are people going to trust them now that they've been hacked once before? Are they going to be worried too much that it might happen again? Or will people just kind of forget that this has all happened and go back to selling on the site when it's back up? It seems like for now, only time will tell. We are obviously waiting to see if Valve take everything back off those accounts. I want to see what happens to MannCo Store when they reopen the website. And honestly, the main point, I'm just hoping everybody gets their stuff back. It doesn't matter if people were selling thousands of dollars worth of items, or if this is the $10 item that they own that they just really needed the money for. I just hope everybody gets their stuff back, everything works out how it should, and we can just kind of forget this ever happened. Anyway, that is going to do it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you leave the video a like, and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you all for being here, and goodbye.